stuff was just taking place at New Year's parties and stuff. But what that stuff was, I really couldn't tell you. I know that Malcolm McDowell was in it. It was directed by a guy named Alan Arkush, who apparently cared enough about this film to make remarks on it in more recent times on Letterboxd, and justifying the film or not, or just reminiscing, it seems. But it seems to have a certain following, and I guess that might just be by virtue of the fact that it does have like Malcolm McDowell and others in it, and it seems like such a bizarre failure of a film, because it seemed like they could have been budgeted to do something that made sense, and it was like a lot of aimless comedy, and sometimes the comedy seemed to be lacking in any real premise. And I think the director himself warned that there was like 1,000 punchlines or 3,000 punchlines and only 1,000 jokes. And I really understand what that means after seeing some of this and just wondering, like, all right, this has the form of humor or attempt at humor, but not an actual, not anything of any real substance. And I guess, oddly enough, given his overall career and the fact that he was in the Gore Vidal scripted version of Caligula, that Malcolm McDowell apparently was put off by the part where he was talking to his own cock in the restroom. At least that's the claim.
So I managed to grab a copy with the director's commentary, thinking it's going to have a whole lot of storytelling and interesting elements, and I was right. Alan Arkush used to work at the Fillmore East, and he dealt with a lot of bands from the late 70s, early 80s, and he was telling stories about, like, in this movie a lot of these things happened, and he was just sort of paying tribute to that. Like, for instance, the little guy that would show up with the case, he called him Electric Larry, and he'd open his case and there'd be pills and cocaine in there and stuff like that. Well, apparently there was a dealer that would always have a backstage pass when these bands were around at the Fillmore, and they would call him Electric Larry, and he'd come in with his case and he'd open it up and there'd be pills and cocaine in there. So this gag in the movie with this creature that comes in with a case is sort of based on him, and a lot of this stuff, I guess, was sort of a parody, like based on true elements.
Okay, that might have been something that the crowd at the time would understand too, and that it just totally goes by us, because there's the Butthole Surfers album called Electric Larry Land, and I feel like, it just, maybe this was just one of those generally known things in pop culture at a time that we're just not aware of at that level. I still think, even with that level of understanding, this would still be a bit nonsensical to us,
Sure.
Given that we were probably all having marijuana products, and that we had just watched a film that had like musical digressions in them from the same time period and taking place on New Year's. So that's why these really blended for me.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.